Well, alright, why not? So this is what we're going to do. First of all, we need to create a dummy API. So I'm just going to go ahead and paste some code in here using my usual favorite, which is Powershell Universal Studio. So after that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do a regular invoke rest. Now the invoke rest method will give me the response. So we're going to initially just go out and grab the local URL because it's running on the same machine. So nothing super complicated or exciting there. And that's going to give us our JSON response. Wait for it. There it is. So we now have the information from an API. Now, first of all, we've got to capture that information if we're going to do anything with it. So we're just going to pipe this into our data. Since there's multiple rows returned, this will just automatically create an array. If there's a single object, it would just be a string, but you know, we'll get to that in a minute. So now we have data, we can do filters on it. So how about where the status is, let's say, inactive. So if we do a where open brackets, get the first status field equals, no, let's not do equals, let's do not equal to inactive. So out of the rows that we've got, we had 6 records, 5 of them were active, 1 is inactive, so we should end up with 5 records instead of 6. So that should be the result of this output, which is just a simple filter. Now you could have more complex filters than this because you can do and, but we're just going to do a simple one. So if we see here, we now have the output from our 6 rows, and out of our 6 rows we have returned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've filtered out the inactive one. Now that's straightforward, pretty simple, right? We can then go ahead and we can do something better. We can say, okay, I want to export my data now, and I'm going to export the data to a file, but we want to keep the file unique. So this is where we use things like, okay, get date, and we use the dash format. And keep in mind there's some important rules here. Lowercase y's for the year, uppercase m's for the month, and lowercase d for the day. Then again for the hours, uppercase if you want to use 24-hour. If you have used lowercase h's, you're just going to use a 12-hour clock. So 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. will appear the same. So if you don't have an AM or PM notification, they're going to look very confusing. Anyway, so we'll do an export now. We'll just take the filter of our previous one. So we're going to get 5 records. We say export to CSV, path, C, temp, and then we're going to put the item in, which in this case is our date, so that we have a unique name for the file based on the current time date stamp. And we'll just do dash myfile.csv, and then we'll go ahead and we'll check what the output looks like. So we should have a file with 5 records basically extracted from an API. Now the first thing we're going to do here is, if we go have a look at the file, you're going to notice something a little bit funky here, which is we have all the columns and then the last column is still in that JSON format. Now let's say that we don't want to do that, which most of you probably don't want to do that. You wanted to have a slightly better formatting. Now I find that most people go out there and do these for loops and all this kind of stuff. I got a better option for you, and if you've watched some of my other videos you might well know what I'm about to say. Let's use stacks. So I'm going to go ahead and just create a brand new stack, and what I'm going to do is push into that stack each object. So we create a for loop, we say create custom PS object, and then we have a record type equals, and basically for each element that I want a column for, I have a object for. So we have, 5, 6 columns here. So we just go ahead, we generate that, and then pushing that stack finally to an array at the end. So the stack will be faster for the looping, but the array is better for the formatting, and then the result we just pump out for the array. And if we look at the end result here, we have a nicely formatted CSV with everything fitting as we want, rather than any of that JSON formatting that we saw previously. And that's how you do formatting in PowerShell.